Hi, my name is Michael Bourne. I'm 57 years old, and for most of my adult life I've suffered with depression. It has severely impacted the quality of my social and work life for as far back as I can remember. Unfortunately, decades ago, depression wasn't really given any kind of equality with physical illness, and in a lot of cases, and in the workplace especially, it was seen as a weakness, which of course further exacerbates the condition. Depression often leads to poor physical health as well, over or undereating, addiction issues, and suicide. Unless you've suffered with it, it is very difficult to convey to people exactly how bad it is. From my perspective, it was that nothing in life offered any kind of real joy. Everything just seemed to be a mindless slog towards an uncertain and unhappy future. I was offered and took many prescription drugs which had little or no effect. They only seemed to do anything when the dosages were increased to such a level as to making me feel disconnected from everything and all emotion. It's a horrible state of mind. Many key moments in life just didn't register as being anything special. I tried several talking therapies, which ultimately didn't help me progress, especially CBT therapy, which I found both intrusive and patronizing, like a one-size-fits-all approach. My depression came to a head when I became my mum's carer. She had cancer and we weren't sure how long she had left. Although I managed to keep it together for her during her hospital visits and her many episodes of extreme pain, watching her pass away and losing her mind before then, when the bone cancer had put holes in her skull, cut me up. A year later, I found a new friend and everything looked better. I worked with her on a children's book website. We lost touch for a couple of months and then I found out she'd taken her own life. I hit absolute rock bottom. I didn't know which way to turn. Medical professionals were beyond useless dealing with my depression. I was turned away from receiving help via NHS because I didn't have substance issues or have any violent tendencies. GPs were unsympathetic and they put me forward for some CBT, which I grew to hate. Then, by chance, I spotted an article about clinical trials of psilocybin and how it was being touted as a help for people with treatment-resistant depression. It caught my interest because I'd tried magic mushrooms as a teenager and I was curious as to how this might work. My main thought was that it was something different, and if nothing else had worked, I'd give it a go. I contacted Imperial College. I wasn't convinced they'd let me take part as I was so far from London and I didn't have the finance to travel or stay there. I heard nothing for a long time, and then I got an email asking if I'd be prepared to come down and talk to them. They offered to pay the expenses and I was interested, but hesitant. The best I thought that could happen was that I'd maybe feel better for a week or maybe a little longer. I also thought that if I didn't try this and it did work, then I'd have missed a chance to shake off this awful illness. It would take too long to explain the events that took place, but they transformed my life. I remember arriving in London before the trial started, sat outside King's Cross, looking at people laughing and smiling with their friends and families, thinking, why can't I have that? I cynically put it down to them having no money worries and better opportunities in life. After my first treatment, everything changed, and literally within the same day. The experience transformed the way I thought. It put a whole new perspective on things. I felt alive, joyous, wanting to engage with everyone and everything. It made me appreciate the tiniest things in life, the beauty of nature, the wonder of music. I felt about 40 years younger. I don't mean just while I was having the experience, I mean afterwards. I then remember arriving at King's Cross again to return home and just being so happy with the variety of people there. I talked to complete strangers and smiled with them. I'd never felt more confident or content in such a long time, perhaps even ever. Because I was still midway through the CDPRG that had started just before the trial, I went back to talk to the therapist, who was completely taken aback at the difference in me. She was dumbfounded and asked me more about the trial and said that there was no need for any more sessions as I was cured. The effect of the treatment lasted well over a year. Gradually things started to slide back down again, but I felt more able to cope with them when they did. I have not taken any antidepressants or have any talking therapy since this trial, and it is now over 5 years ago. Above all, rescheduling psilocybin is an absolute necessity. The research work undertaken by James Rucker and others is critical to finding solutions to this horrendous condition. It also shows so much promise in other areas also, such as end-of-life care. I am absolutely convinced my mum would have had the opportunity for a psilocybin experience before passing. It could have helped her so much with her anxiety about her end of life. To suggest that it has no medicinal benefit is both blinkered and immoral. Research needs to be done in quantity and very quickly. COVID has, from my experience, affected the mental health of so many, and no doubt driven people with chronic depression to a breaking point. Treating depression also helps with the physical problems that go with depression. Transforming people's lives and giving people a brighter, more hopeful future is the key to bigger and better and much more tolerant societies.